What's up, everybody? Slotitup503, Jason here, and my fellow sidekick.
Hey, it's Rob. Hey there, comic friends and fiends.
And welcome to episode number 1 of Sidekicks Talking Comics.
Y'all here on the ground floor ready to get this thing started? Make sure you got this on the record, and you want to be able to say, I knew these guys when they were just sidekicks.
Right?
Well, before you know it, we'll be like, I don't know, we'll still be sidekicks. Isn't Nightwing always still just a sidekick?
Pretty much, even though he's the leader of the sidekicks.
We'll get our own book. We'll get our own series. Oh, wait, we already did, huh?
Right. We kind of stepped out of our little comfort zone. So what we're going to do basically is every Thursday, we may change the time to 5:30 instead of 6 with conflicting live streams. Each week, we're going to have each a topic to talk about, maybe some quick comic news, maybe some pickups depending on the week. You know, some weeks are slower than other weeks on that. Pretty much, you know, talking with the audience, just talking comics.
So we're going to try to keep it on target, and we're not going to be a sprawling. Well, we're sprawling individuals, but we won't be a sprawling show. How's that?
Yeah, we'll try to. We're going to try to keep it, as clean as possible. We are rookies. Rob has been in radio before, but you know, he's trained me. Oh, wise one.
Get your recording and always listen for your verbal crutches.
So I'm going to go ahead and start. The topic really I wanted to talk about was last year.
We're gonna do that. You want to do the quick pickups, and then we get into our topics, right?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Remember pre-production?
Pre-production. I wasn't prepared. I'm not even prepared for this now. I totally forgot about the quick pickup.
I'll go first there. Easy.
I'll let you take over.
I do real quick. So usually our intro session here, just to let you guys are getting in here, since it's the day after New Comic Book Day, kind of hit you up with a couple things, not necessarily going through everything that we picked up, but just a couple hits. So I'm just going to go through a couple variants that I picked up because I'm that guy. I'm the variant guy who's ruining the comic industry for all y'all because I like art. So when next time you're wondering or cursing all these variants, just go, God damn that Rob Fat Stax. It's all his fault. So anyways, real quick, it was a heavier DC week. So there we are. This is the Legion of Superheroes, the B cover. I love the B covers on DC. The art is the emphasis, and I do love the art. And so you got Gold Lantern there in front. An alternate for Batman versus Catwoman, the Jim Lee, because, well, hey, there's nothing ever wrong with a Jim Lee Batman book, right?
Not at all.
Some the next Batman variants there. The Nightwing. But most importantly, now here's the one. I hope you guys all got your camera on because this is the one that is the hot book of the week that everybody was scrambling for. We leave the DC universe. We go to Marvel, to a galaxy far, far away. The Jenny Friesen 1 in 25 Dr. Aphra book. It does exist someplace other than on eBay, folks. It's in my house. Oh, yeah. How you doing there?
It's in that Fat Stack of comics.
That's right. She's going to be going off to. There's a Jenny Friesen signing coming up in March. She's going to be going on her way to get signed and slabbed. So that's my variant pickups for this week.
That's what happens when you're prepared like that. Honestly, my pickups are much different. I got some Batman, of course. Imagine that. I picked up every one of the Marvel covers with the Alien variants. I just have to have those. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Something is Killing the Children, which will actually bring us into the segment that I was talking about. That is a book last year, I think, that most people I watched, it made top 20, top 10, top 5 even books of the year. That book was talked about like crazy. I don't know about everybody else, but it wasn't really ever on my radar. I'm more of a superhero comics. You know, I like the cowl and the cape and the, you know, the utility belt, you know, the superhero stuff. And that didn't really do it for me. A lot of these independent books don't really jump out at me. So I stayed away from it. But all I kept hearing about was something is killing the children. Something is killing the children. Oh, something is killing the children is worth hundreds of dollars. This issue is worth hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, I don't understand it. So I decided I would read and actually give it a fair shot. Something is killing the children. I don't know if anybody in here has read it. I know Super Jesse for sure has read it.
I don't think nobody's read that. It's all hype.
I could be, yeah. I mean, I might not be the only one that thought that, you know, what's up with this book, but I was like, what's up with this book? So I read it, and it is a fantastic book. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show Supernatural. It's almost kind of in that range a little bit. It's written by James Tynion, I want to say. It's 13 issues into it right now. The main character is, I can't believe Gary B hasn't read this book. Is, you know, he loves the female hero, the strong female lead. And Erica Slaughter is that character.
Tiny onion.
Basically, Taylor, it's a horror book. I mean, it has to be scary, right? It takes place in a small town in Wisconsin. I mean, it doesn't get any scarier than that. A small town in Wisconsin. You might run into Taylor Winder. You might run into Adrian APM in a dark alley. You don't want that. It's Archer's Peak. Basically what it is, it's these kids. It starts off with these kids. I don't want to spoil too much because I know everyone's going to want to read it after this. It starts off with these kids telling horror stories, like I'm sure a lot of us did as young kids, and playing Truth or Dare. So this kid basically says, you know, what's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you? And the one kid's like, well, I've seen this monster in the ravine. And it's a made-up story, obviously, but it scares the hell out of these kids, and they decide to go into this ravine and look for it. Well, they find it, and guess what? It kills the children. It kills most of the children. Foolish kids, right? There you go, Comic Hunter. There you go. Oh, tiny. There you go. That's what. See, Taylor knows way more about stuff like this than me. That's why we're sidekicks. That's why we're not superheroes. But anyway, they find this monster. It kills a bunch of the kids. A couple kids escape. They go and they tell this horrible story.
DJ
Links in the house. What do we got here? That's DJ Links. Jeez. Yeah, that's not the kind of Truth or Dare these kids were playing. So they come back. The kids terrified. The sheriffs find these dead kids just torn to shreds. And then, lo and behold, Erica Slaughter shows up to town. And long story short, she's basically from this order of monster hunters who hunt monsters and keep the world safe, basically, in a kind of a nutshell. And yeah, it's pretty graphic. The writing in it is absolutely fantastic. The art in it is freaking great. You know, it's
a whole separate I feel there's a whole separate conversation going on in a whole different world over there.
There probably is. That's okay. Yeah, she's a badass. I mean, I was trying to tell Super Jessie earlier, you know, I don't know how much of a badass she really is compared to like Sam and Dean and Supernatural. I don't know if you guys watched that, but they have a 1967 Apollo that's badass anyway. Anyway, she goes into a to say how badass she is, she goes into a hardware store to get weapons, basically, and she's picking up like like trimmers and knives, and she goes up to the chainsaw aisle or the section, and she's like, "What do you got for chainsaws?" And the guy's like, "Well, this one's top notch. If you drop it, the blade will stop spinning. It won't cut your leg off, basically. These ones over here are cheap as hell. If you drop it, it'll keep spinning. It'll probably cut your leg off." She goes, "I'll take 2 of the cheap ones." She wants something that's going to keep spinning. It's going to keep ripping into these monsters. It's pretty badass, honestly. So I would recommend it. All these people said, this was one of their, like, Comic Book Poser was on his top list. It was like number 2, I think. If you guys like horror, if you guys like just kind of like action, something other than your typical superhero, flying through the air in your invisible jet or shooting beams out of your eyes or whatever, it's freaking fantastic. So I would highly recommend it.
So this is on the pull list now.
It is. It's actually been on the pull list for Super Jesse. And, like I said, whatever. I don't care about something that's killing the children. And once you read it, I mean, it's dark. It's well thought out. The story is fantastic. Erica Slaughter is pretty much a badass. She doesn't take shit from anyone. It's even from the kids. If they get lippy with her, she lets them know.
You gotta put a Super Jesse's comment.
Exactly. No wonder Jesse likes that. Now I see why she likes that so much.
Go ahead and you gotta throw her comment up.
Oh, what did she say? There you go.
It's a rarity in comics, so it needs to be called out, right?
Absolutely. But it's definitely not Vampirilla. But I'm sure the story is quite a bit better as well. But I've actually never read Vampirilla. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and. Well,
that's great. So
let's share the screen. Go ahead.
That's one to go ahead and pick up and put onto the list. Then there.
Yeah, it's a really good read. I recommend anyone that hasn't read it. I mean, it's an expensive book to try to get like issues 1 through whatever. I read the trade paperback because I didn't want to touch her earlier issues, so I just picked up we picked it up. It's 2 issues, and then you read the 3 comics that are the new ones. So
cool.
It's a pretty quick read.
All right, great. Well, anything else there before we roll on to the next segment?
No, I'm going to go ahead and leave it to my fellow sidekick. Go ahead.
There, go ahead and you can go ahead and make me big whenever you're ready there, because I'll use my graphics at some point, because I'm fancy like that with graphics and stuff. Hey, guys. Well, so one of the things that when it comes to collecting comics, I think we all come across is sometimes we collect stuff we just can't explain. And generally, it ends up being somehow nostalgia driven, a piece of our past. Cause us to make decisions that just don't make sense to others. Maybe it's caused me to purchase multiple copies of Shogun Warriors that I have no idea why. Maybe it caused me to purchase a few dozen, 100 Funkos that I really don't have a place to keep them, but they're dangling off the shelves all around me. And maybe it's caused me to buy up every single copy of Spider-Man 2099 that I might possibly seem to find, just about. Nostalgia is weird like that. It makes us do weird things. But Spider-Man 2099 is kind of what I'm going to talk about here today a little bit, and not so much in going to recap, but I do want to talk about the fact that, hey, look, first of all, this is a character that everybody knows about. It's been around. 2099 universe came out in 1992. The character itself designed by Rick Leonardi and Peter David, fleshed out a lot of the character. And this was a time for me where I was just coming into comics. I was a late bloomer into comics. 1992, I was freshman at military school, at a military college, and there this was on the spinner rack. And it kind of hooked me. It was a cool looking new Spider-Man, a new series, easy to get into. Spider-Man had always appealed before. Hey, I want to check this out and dig into it, right? And when you start getting into it, you get this whole idea of that America's now being run by these corrupt megacorps. It didn't sound really all that unrealistic that these corporations could take over our country, and probably even less so by today's standards. That it doesn't seem like it's that unreasonable to think. So that all kind of initially caught me and drew me in, but then what really kind of held me throughout this series and got my attention was I was kind of into science, and the Peter Parker story is great. Here's this guy, he's bitten by a radioactive spider. He somehow magically sticks to a wall. He somehow magically has a sense that allows him to jump out of the way. He can't really shoot webs, but so he builds something that allows him to do that. Really, it's kind of weird. He just, whether his head is stuck to the ceiling or his back, whatever, all magic. Whereas Miguel O'Hara gets a little bit of the fly treatment, right? He ends up in a genetic chamber for reasons because he's trying to remove this drug that gets bonded to his body. And in the process, his DNA gets spliced with the spider DNA, and he becomes 50% spider, 50% human. So all on the fly, Jeff Goldblum, right? He gets spinnerets. He's got talons that can inject venom. He has, fangs that inject venom. He's got talons on his fingers and toes that are little hooks that allow him to actually cling to and climb the walls, as well as use them as weapons. He doesn't have this magical spider sense, but he does have enhanced sight, which then, of course, when he causes him to have eye sensitivity and normal light and all these other things. So it kind of took some kind of science elements to it. And it was something that just really kind of made me dig Miguel O'Hara and Spider-Man 2099 as a whole there. He became my number 2 Spider-Man behind Peter Parker. And it causes me to constantly pick up these copies of these number 1s when I find them. And it's kind of become a little bit of a joke here amongst us, right? Especially between Jason and I, right? But all of this changed. January 1st, the official Spider-Verse Twitter account sent out a tweet teasing Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099, saying it's coming. And this isn't the first time that we've seen something about this, because at the post-credit scene of the original Into the Spider-Verse, we had this post-credit scene was, again, Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. So now this counts as the second time we're talking about when we're talking about this, where Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099 is there, looking like this could be some decent potential spec. And sure enough, we start to see that in the books. So in December, the month prior to this being posted, the average price of a CGC 9.8 book was $68.50. We're talking about the direct edition here. Okay. And that's about and what we did is since this Twitter image posted, the book average sale for January thus far, average sale of the same CGC 9.8 direct edition is $93.60, up over 25%. And then we're seeing the ASM 365 also seeing similar increases in what people are looking to get for it, with this being the ASM 365 is the first appearance of Spider-Man 2099 in the last 3 pages. So the question here is this actually just hype, or is there actually something to spec here? I mean, these are 90s books, right? They're printed in large quantities. Spider-Man 2099 is Peter David's best-selling single issue of all time, with an estimated over 400,000 copies distributed, right? You put that into equation of what we're talking in print runs today, when we're talking about 30, 40, 50,000 copies and such, we're talking 400,000 plus books. Even near at the end of its run, after 30-something issues, Spider-Man 2099 was still pushing out, or was still selling over 100,000 copies the whole way through. So there's a lot of these books out there in the wild. When you get into what's CGC, what's on census, both of these books are difficult to get in a 9.8, however, because the Spider-Man 2099 has a foil edge. It scratches, it abrades, it gets, little nicks. They don't press out the same, everything else. And then, of course, the ASM 365 had the hologram, which gets all scratched up and everything else. I mean, these are 90s books, foil covers, holograms.
Super Jeffy just got 2 of those back from our CGC.
The only thing that you're lucky is you didn't end up with pouches all over them. But so with ASM 365, there's just less than 1,000 copies in a 9.8. Right, Spider-Man 2099, there's about 1,500 copies in a 9.8. Put that in perspective. Ultimate Fallout 4, right? That book, a 9.8, Ultimate Fallout 4 is selling for almost $1,000 now at this point for the first print. The first print, there's roughly about a little over 100,000 issues that were done for that particular copy. There are over 2,500 CGC 9.8s on a book that's supposed to be hard to get because of the polybag crease. So that's about 3% versus we're talking about 0.4% of the Spider-Man 2099s that are out there. So far fewer percentage getting a CGC 9.8, but of course there's a lot more books out there in the wild. So the question is there some room in it at $100? Probably. The newsstand variants, of course, there are 3 variants of this Amazing Spider-Man 365. You have the direct edition with the 2099 in the lower corner. You have the foil with the barcode, which is your newsstand copy. Don't know how many are out there. CGC's just starting to track them. There's no delineation as far as how many of the current 1,500 Spider-Man 2099s are newsstand versus direct editions. So we're not quite sure on that, but they do exist out there and typically sell for a little bit more. If you really want to go big on spec, well, the second print is the way to go. There's all of 39 copies on CGC 9.8. Now, the reason is this second print was not actually a normal second print like we think of second prints today. This was a copy that was distributed in blister pack with the Toy Biz Spider-Man 2099 action figure, sold exclusively through KB Toys. So very small distribution model was that this went out. The books, of course, were not there in these blister packs, just getting tossed around in toy stores, everything else. So very few of them exist. You see that a CGC 9.8 on those are selling for over $1,000. People asking like $1,200-1,300 right now on eBay for them. So, good luck with that. So anyways, the point of the whole thing is look, I love Spider-Man 2099 and I'm still going to love Spider-Man 2099. Now I'm just happy because there's actually maybe a little bit of spec in there. And I think that there is some spec still at, you can pick up a copy of the direct edition and a 9.8 for, less than, probably for right around $100 still. There's probably still some room to grow there, especially if he does make it in the movie. Is it ever going to be a $500-700 book? Probably if you sit on it for 50-60 years, but then again, maybe not.
Who knows? Who knows?
That's right.
Super Jesse's are both the 2099 and the 365 are both newsstands.
That's very good. I got an ASM 365 newsstand. It's out it's only a 9.6. Got another 9.8 on its way. My Spider-Man 2099s are all direct editions that I have that are the 9.8s and the ones that are my backstock. Although there is another direct edition I didn't mention that is technically there, and I have one of them on its way to me. There was a subset of 7,500 that were signed, and kind of like the dynamic forces stuff of the day, and have a red or have an orange piece of paper that goes across Spider-Man 2099's thigh, so you can't, because it's signed on his thigh, you can't see who it is unless you break the seal and pull it out and everything else. I have no idea if it's worth any more to a collector sealed in its bag with the label making it this subset of 7,500, or whether people want it graded. Who knows? But actually, I do know. I paid very little. I paid $20 for the signed in the bag versus $100 for a CGC 9.8. So there you are.
There's a big difference.
I don't know, but I do know.
Yeah, I think that Spider-Verse movie was fantastic. I mean, I think that changed changed a lot in the comic book world. That movie, Spider-Man universe, anyway.
Hey, I'm happy to see this one go. He's my favorite of them all. I hold no hope out for my Punisher 2099s or my Doom 2099s, my Ravage 2099s, my X-Men 2099s, or my Hulk 2099. I hold no hope out for those to ever gain. Oh, and the Ghost Rider 2099. No hope for them ever to grow anything. Spider-Man's, they're just fun. They're shiny. I like them. They remind me of a younger time.
Yes, absolutely. And while I bring this up, Liefeld pouches you were talking about. Speaking of Rob Liefeld, I don't know if anyone's seen this, but on Twitter, I guess, he posted a picture of Deadpool standing next to Rocket Raccoon and Groot. And it had basically a little caption that says something in your future soon. So he's basically teasing a crossover between Deadpool and the Guardians of the Galaxy, which I love Rob Liefeld, even though his ankles are atrocious on his characters.
And everything below his ankles, too.
Everything below his ankles are, they're not the best. But in the 90s, I think we all grew up with Rob Liefeld. I mean, he was big. He was a huge name. And Deadpool's big. I love Deadpool, especially the new movie coming out. And Guardians of the Galaxy is just classic. So I can't imagine what a comic book with, Deadpool and Guardians of the Galaxy would probably be pretty dang fantastic.
No, and then we had the other tweet that we saw there came out today too with this from the Marvel universe that we're all left wondering about, this Heroes Reborn, which of course was an atrocious concept back in the 90s when they did the Heroes Reborn. Caused a lot of people to hate the Marvel for all that. And then of course we go, are they talking about that? They're going to try to rehash that? Are they talking about something else? Are they talking about the stupid NBC show Heroes Reborn? Who knows? We're all left to wonder. What is Marvel going to do something stupid with another giant event, announcing it before they're even finished with their current big event?
Right.
Just give me some time to relax.
Just give us the movies you've already promised us first, and then we'll worry about future stuff. Yeah. So look at this. Rob Liefeld's married to Tori from Saved by the Bell. That is nice. I did not know that.
I can't remember which one's Tori. Sorry. Yeah, and Cates tweeted the end of his Venom run is on Venom Legacy number 200. That wraps that up. So then all of a sudden so that means we will have, and I've already saw the list because Marvel released today also some of their April cover releases. So we do see that the April is going to be that Venom 200. And as you would expect, from Marvel alone, it's going to be Batman 50-ish with 800,000 different variants there. And of course, that means that every online retailer is going to have their own variant. So expect it to be, for those of you who have to try to hunt and peck in the CZ app to load it in manually because the barcode doesn't scan for some reason, expect to have to go through 75, 80 different covers probably to find it.
That's a great app, by the way. You should
we'll talk about it another time. Although I'm sure half these people know.
Probably. I did not know.
That's bringing us close to the end of our time. Anything else you got there, Jason?
Not really, other than Sunday. Just stay tuned for the
what's coming up in the week. That's right. What's coming up in the week for you?
The 250 subscriber giveaway that we're giving. I mean,
I hear that's kind of big.
It's ridiculous, is what it is. It started with I was going to give away a couple slabs. I thought that would be fantastic. 2 slabs for 250 subscriber giveaways.
Better than some other schmuck sitting right here. I'm giving one freaking slab.
Well, Gary B says I'm competitive, but I don't know. Maybe I am. And then Taylor Winder offered, may or may not be, may have been on bourbon, but he offered up a copy of his art book, which is super fantastic. And then we got, Chip Getler sent me something from Amazon, which totally goes with this channel. I'll show you guys on the giveaway. Then we got Gary B that's giving away some Black Widow books, and I think there's something else he was giving away.
Great. So a lot of giveaways.
Tons of stuff. And all you got to do is
Sunday.
Exactly.
Must be present to win, right?
Sunday.
Para información en español, marque dos.
Exactly.
Well, I got going on this week, or actually right at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern today. I have off to my left here. I don't know if you can kind of make it bigger for a second, but I got a stack of 30 books that came back from grading at the ugly, notorious PGX, as people like to refer to it. Will this be my last and final? Have they pissed me off with this shipment again? Or have they redeemed themselves? We'll find out in 90 minutes from now. Make sure you subscribe to both Jason and I if you're not already, because we will be alternating ping-ponging the show between our channels. And you want to make sure you don't miss an episode. We're going to try to keep it nice and tidy and close to 30 minutes like this and not take up your whole evenings.
Absolutely. And we know you guys got plenty of stuff to do on Thursday night. I mean, you don't want to sit there and look at a couple sidekicks for more than 30 minutes, right?
Yeah. Some people have families and they actually like them and want to spend time with them for some strange reason.
Exactly. On that note, guys, we'll see you next week on Thursday. Slot it up.
Hey, hopefully I'll see you guys in 90 minutes from now. And make sure, what?
Is it 90? I thought it was at 7 my time.
You know it, in 30 minutes. You're
in
right.
30 minutes.
I don't even know how long it is. 30 minutes from now. Until then, you make sure you collect what you want. Don't listen to anybody, especially me, because I'm just a fat sidekick with a fat stack of comics.
Have a good night, guys.